Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am TheSunnyMachine, and today I'm going to continue my series on soundboards, setup, and everything audio related to streaming and recording. If you're a content creator or if you're looking to get the best possible setup and have it be affordable, we're continuing that series around soundboards. And today is going to be the second to last video. I've decided to do two more videos in this series. This one is going to be about accessories, cables, and little upgrade tech that you can do to get the most out of your soundboard. And the next video will be about setting all that stuff up, how to hook it up to your soundboard, how to deal with your Windows settings, how to set up OBS filters so that everything is good, and stuff to kind of look out for. So that's going to be like our final plug everything in, make it all work video, and this is going to be kind of like the stuff that you might want to plug into the soundboard. So in the previous videos, we've gone over what soundboards are good for streaming, the different features between the bigger boards and some of the smaller boards, what features you kind of want to hunt for. That's our first video in the series. If you want to go back and watch all of them, I recommend doing that. They kind of all lead into our final conclusion, which will be this in the next video. So, today let's talk about, you have a soundboard and you want to expand it and you want to get the cleanest possible sound. You want it to sound really good. You want your stream to have no little weird buzzes and electronic noises, and you want to just get it all situated and make sure you're also not breaking the bank at the same time. If you go to the link in the description, or you go to my website, TheSunnyMachine.com, and you click on Tech and Equipment, right here, you can get to this post, Soundboard, Accessories, and Cables. Look for that. This is what we're going to be going over today. So, let's start from the top. This is going to seem like the most strange one as far as a soundboard is concerned. Oh, I want to upgrade my soundboard. What do I need to do? Well, if you picked any of the boards that I provided in that first video that have an internal power supply, which means it has some sort of you just plug the power cable in, and maybe it has some vents on the side to kind of passively cool the power supply that's inside. Unfortunately, that's typically not enough cooling and airflow to actually maintain these boards for long term. I've had two boards go bad on me because of heat related issues. These boards do get fairly warm, and the easiest way to extend the life of your soundboard, since you're not putting it in a rack and it's not going to be in a nice airflow situation, you are going to want to invest in a silent USB fan that you can just slap right on the side of the soundboard to blow air actively into the side of the soundboard. This is a very simple upgrade. You just plug the USB powered fan in. It's super quiet. I have one on mine. I actually have a bunch of these. You can get them to do all kinds of stuff for cooling in your room if you have electronics. This is a good way to go. But the small one that I have linked on my website will cool the board significantly. So if you already have a Behringer soundboard, do me a favor, lift it up and stick your hand underneath towards the back on the right side where the power plug gets plugged in. You'll feel how significantly warm the board is. That's what you don't want. You want as little heat as possible being generated, because the smaller capacitors are right next to these large power capacitors, and they generate a lot more heat than those smaller capacitors right next to them are really able to tolerate over the long term. And it can be kind of tricky to replace those capacitors. You need a professional to do it, or somebody who really knows what they're doing. So soundboard, fan, cooling just kind of alleviates the whole situation. You're going to get way more time out of your soundboard and your monetary investment. This will help your soundboard last a lot longer. So, also, side note, make sure your soundboard is free of dust. Invest in some cans of air or a Metrovac, which will allow you to keep it free of dust. You do not want dust to build up, because when moisture from humidity, or if you spill something plus dust, that's just a really bad situation. You don't want that. You want to keep your soundboard as dust-free inside and outside as possible. So can of air or Metrovac if you don't want to have to keep buying cans of air. All right, let's move on. All right, mini portable stereo 4-channel audio mixer. This one is incredibly optional, whereas the silent USB fan, I don't think is optional, unless you have a soundboard that has an external power supply. The mini portable stereo 4-channel audio mixer allows you to take your aux input or any of the stereo channel inputs and expand it so that you can plug 4 new stereo devices in. What this has is 4 inputs with volume control. Now you'll lose EQ and individual settings and routing on this channel. So it's really good for the aux channel, but you could do this for all of them. So if you have a soundboard that only has 2 stereo inputs, this will increase your stereo inputs to 8. That's a lot. That's plenty for just being able to quick mix on the stream. 2 is not really enough. If usually you have 2 plus an aux return channel. And so if you have an aux return channel, you can easily just bump that up to 4 new inputs and give yourself manual volume control with one of these. You're just going to need cables and ground loop isolators, which we'll get to. You're going to want ground loop isolators on everything, and I'll explain that when we get there. But this is a great little device for actually expanding your soundboard so that you can plug in more things into it. I have I have a 4-channel stereo input board plus the aux, and my board is maxed out. I have so much stuff plugged in, it's kind of nuts, but it's really nice to be able to expand. If you really quickly want to be able to plug another device in, let's say your phone or a handheld game console, for some reason while you're live on stream, this will let you do it. A Bluetooth wireless receiver, all kinds of stuff. You get real creative with this. So expand your soundboard. This is great for those smaller soundboards. It's great for big soundboards. It's great even if you have a Go XLR. This will allow you to plug in more things into your Go XLR, which we all would like. Okay, so HDMI 2.0B matrix switch 4 in, 2 out. This is kind of a weird device, so we're going to spend a moment here. What is this for? Well, if you do a lot of console gaming, if you spend a lot of time with multiple consoles and you use a capture card, you are going to want to extract your audio from the HDMI signal before it reaches your capture card so it can go into the soundboard. And you can mix your Switch, PS5, PS4, Xbox, Wii U, GameCube with an HDMI adapter. If you've got retro game consoles using a RetroTink 5X, you're going to want a way to extract the audio from the HDMI signal and put it into your soundboard. This is a great way to do that. You can do this with just a regular audio extractor, but those can be just about the same price as this Matrix. The nice thing about the Matrix is it is a 4-in, 2-output HDMI device. What this means is you can have 4 inputs, and then the 2 outputs can be assigned to any of the 4 inputs. It also has headphone jacks for both HDMI outputs. So you could send one signal, you could use 2 capture cards and send one game console to one capture card and the other game console to another capture card. So if you have, let's say, 2 streamers on one stream and you want to get your 2 Nintendo Switches to have the audio going to the soundboard, this is a great way to do that. All you have to do is plug in there's 2 headphone jacks on the HDMI Matrix, each for each output, one for each output on the Matrix, and you just send them to different channels on the soundboard. Or if you're using this little mini stereo adapter, you could have 2 channels right there. And you're going to have all of your console audio being routed to your soundboard in whatever way that you choose. But the important thing is that you get choice, you get selection, and it's compatible with 4K, and it will do 60 hertz. It's not going to do variable refresh rate. It's not going to do HDMI 2.1 stuff. It's not going to do anything crazy, but it will work for streaming. If you're looking to just try to get your game and the audio from your game to your soundboard and send it all to your OBS, plus having the capture card still function. And you could even, if you don't have 2 computers, so how would this be functional for you? Well, you could send a output So there's an A and B output on the matrix. You could send output A, or 1, to your capture card. You could send output B, the second output, the exact same signal. So your switch is coming in and then going out to the capture card. And then the B output could go to a TV or your monitor if you don't have a pass-through on your capture card. Or you could send the pass-through from your capture card to your gaming monitor, and the B output could go to a completely different situation, a different computer. Go anywhere you want, basically. This is a great routing tool. It does have some issues where you're going to want to turn the power off and on again, unplug the USB, like power cycle it if things are being wonky or the audio is not coming through. Sometimes you have to unplug and plug back in the headphone jack. It's not often, but once in a while things go wonky with HDMI signals, especially something that's like trying to gather it and organize it, like the way this device is. It also has EDID switches, which means if you are having trouble with the Sony consoles only outputting surround sound for some reason, there are these little dip switches on the device that will allow you to kind of force the console to only output stereo or only output surround sound in different situations like that. So it gives you a tool to kind of play with it. This is what I recommend right now until maybe an HDMI 2.1, but those are going to be really expensive. Matrix comes out. If you need audio extraction, multiple inputs, and multiple outputs. Otherwise, you can just buy a small HDMI audio extractor that just is a pass-through and will pull the audio out through RCA. That is also an option. You can go that route as well. But I think this is a better long-term investment since they're around the same price typically. You're going to need HDMI cables. So I've linked a pack of HDMI cables. I typically, when trying to help people set this stuff up, we always forget that you're probably not going to have enough HDMI cables. So a set of maybe medium length and really short length HDMI cables can really help so that you can kind of like route things and plug things in, right? You're going to need RCA to 3.5 millimeter cables. This is a 2-pack. It's about the same price as buying one cable when you get it in a singular pack. So I always recommend just spend the money on the 2-pack. You're going to need extra cables. You're always going to need extra cables. This will work to allow you to plug in things to the soundboard with adapters. There are adapters that go with this. You're going to want RCA to 1/4-inch adapters for the soundboard, but this will also work more directly for devices that have RCA out to go into this little stereo channel mixer. So I actually recommend trying to figure out how many things you need to plug in to start. Make a list of all the jacks, what kind of jack it has, and try to figure out the exact cables that you need. But you're always safe with RCA to 3.5 millimeter in most cases, since that 3.5 millimeter jack is what's on most monitors. You have them on a lot of capture cards. You have them on your older phones. Your motherboard's output audio is a headphone jack. So headphone jack's pretty safe, and then the RCA will allow you to then adapt it to the soundboard with the adapters, which we'll get to. This 1/4-inch mono dual RCA adapter is for the Discord talkback on your soundboard. So if you plan on using the same microphone that's plugged into your soundboard for Discord, you have to route it out. And we talked about this in one of the previous videos. The aux send or mon send of the board, or FX send if you have a smaller board, that is a mono output. But a lot of sound cards are automatically looking for a stereo input. So in Windows, it might be set to stereo. And it can reset and default and cause all kinds of like headaches for you to have a mono signal coming out of your soundboard being sent into a stereo cable with only one of those plugs actually being active, right? So what this adapter does is it takes the mono signal and splits it to both sides of the stereo signal, so that the left and the right are getting the exact same signal. And what this will do is maintain the signal for each channel in case a game, one of them, like Sea of Thieves, likes to lean to one of the channels. I don't remember if it's left or it's right, but I had somebody with a soundboard and they had a mono cable plugged into, a normal input jack their line in on their computer, and the line in was set to stereo, but only one of the channels was actually getting the signal, like the left side, but Sea of Thieves was looking for the right channel, and so they would talk and nobody could hear them in Sea of Thieves. Discord worked fine, everything else worked fine. Sea of Thieves didn't work. So what this does is it makes sure that signal is going to both channels, so that if a game is looking at a channel, you have a mic signal coming through and your microphone will still work. It's a very inexpensive way to kind of fix weird circumstances with certain games. These can be annoying too, because let's say you're like, I'm going to stream Sea of Thieves and we're going to play with friends, and then you go live and nobody can hear you in the game because you didn't have time to test or something. Just don't have those kinds of headaches. Who knows what's going to happen with future games too. So, all right. So these are really, really important. Everything on this list is a great addition to your soundboard, but a lot of this stuff is like, you got to do this. You have to get these. So if you're going to use anything, Go XLR, any kind of soundboard, mixer, or voice processing input device, and you're going to add external devices to it, you're going to want a ground loop noise isolator on every single audio cable and connection, without exception. There's two kinds of ground loop isolators, and you have to figure out which one's best for your cable that you're using. If you're using a 3.5 to 3.5 cable, then get this ground loop isolator. If you're using a RCA cable or anywhere that there's RCA adaptation going on, get the ground loop isolator for RCA. I have a ton of these. I have one of these is on every single line of my input. If I don't use it, I get this annoying buzzing, buzz sound. See if I can replicate what that sounds like. This is what it sounds like when you don't have ground loop isolation. It's either that's actually very minimal too, because what you want is to get rid of all possible noise, and it's very difficult to do that. So I highly recommend everyone invest in a ground loop isolator on every single cable that's plugged into an electronic device, so you don't get any weird buzzing or humming or anything like that. It's not going to color the sound so much that your stream's audio is destroyed. It's going to sound fine. In general, grab a ground loop isolator, grab a few. I would say if you're doing 4 stereo inputs on your board, you want 4 of these, 4 of the RCA ones, and then 1 for the aux return. This little one's good. But if you're using this little mixer guy, this doesn't have RCA in. It has, a headphone jack. So you're going to want to grab this, 1/8-inch headphone jack style for each one of those channels and the output. So that's 5. It really depends. You can use either one. They're both going to get the job done. I tend to prefer I don't know. I don't really have much of a preference. It's not, once you have a bunch of the RCA ones, they're really bulky and they can kind of take up a bunch of space if you don't cable manage well. It's just kind of up to you. Just grab what you need, but make sure if you have any buzzing, get one of these. Stereo headphone adapter. This is so that you can plug headphones into the soundboard. This is kind of an important one. A lot of people will buy a soundboard and they won't have one of these adapters. So if you're certain that you have these adapters laying around, these headphone adapters, please make sure it fits. It doesn't screw. If it's an old one, it screws on to, there's all kinds of different styles of these. Just make sure yours fits, it's tight, and that you're good to go. So you can plug your headphones into your soundboard. Regular RCA cables. These are great. If you need to have your soundboard a few feet away from your computer, up on a table, on a standing desk, and you want to have slack, extra RCA cables are always good. So I have them linked here in case you need them. This is a pack of adapters from RCA to 1/4 inch. So this is exactly how you would get your RCA cables, ground loop isolators, plugged into the soundboard. You can just adapt RCA to 1/4 inch. This is a very, very inexpensive way to go. RCA is a very clean signal. These break, so it might be a good idea If you're gonna be unplugging and plugging them in a lot, you might want to get an extra pack. They're even the more expensive ones tend to come apart. They're not super solidly built. They will last for a long time if you basically just leave them plugged in all the time. So, and you can kind of snap them back together if they come apart. But this is a great way to go. It's more affordable to go an RCA cable typically to a 1/4-inch adapter than it is to buy a cable that is 1/4-inch that adapts to whatever other kind of signal that you want. Plus, sometimes some of your stuff may have RCA out, and so just being able to grab an RCA cable and plug it right into the soundboard with these adapters is the way to go. Ugreen USB external sound card. There are a ton of options for external sound cards that have outputs, and you don't need one that has RCA. I really, really like these Ugreen USB sound cards. You can run them at higher signal processing digital output, and they will be really clean. They're not going to buzz. They're not going to have any issues. They are stable. They don't reset all the time. They don't get all crazy with Windows updates. This is what I recommend. If you want to really simplify your setup, what you need to do is buy one of these for every single thing that you want to route to the soundboard from your computer. So if you want an audio card for Discord, this can act as your output and input channel for Discord, since it also has an input. You can run it at 24-bit 96,000 hertz in Windows and send that really high quality signal to your soundboard. Now it's going to go into OBS back in as a 4800 hertz in OBS and for broadcast, but still you've got a really nice, clean, high quality audio signal coming into your analog soundboard for mixing with. You're going to get a much better sound mixing experience if you can input the highest quality audio from your sound cards into your soundboard. So these will allow you to have really high quality audio. And all you do is you plug it into a USB port, you label it so that it matches that USB port. So just kind of like have a layout for the back of your computer. If your computer's vertical, you can label them as top to bottom, left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just put a little sticker 8. No, it's in number 8 USB. Label it Discord, right? And you just plug it into your soundboard on the channel you want for Discord, and you plug your Discord talkback mic into the input. You set it as the default communication device and default audio input device in Discord, and you're good to go. Your audio will be stable and it will work between updates, hopefully. You buy another one of these and you use it for your main Windows audio. Now you could use your motherboard's headphone jack to do that as well, and you get a really clean signal depending on what kind of sound card you have. That can be helpful. And you get another one for game audio, and you get another one for music audio. And then, from there, it's just kind of up to you if you want to get more. You're going to run out of USB ports eventually on your motherboard. The other thing I want to say is, if you can, plug these into USB 2.0 ports. You can get USB 2.0 expansions for most motherboards. They have headers so that you can plug in extra USB. You want to plug these into USB 2.0 if you can, because if you start maxing out audio cards on USB 3.0, it's going to it can be fussy in Windows depending on the motherboard. You may run out of assignments on the motherboard because there's a lot going on with the sound card. It's got it's got an in and an out. It's got all kinds of things going on. The power delivery system on your motherboard for USB can get wonky if you plug it into all USB 3.0 ports. It will work, but just be careful. Your mileage will vary a bit. You may want to get a powered USB hub and try that, although that can create other issues. So it's kind of your motherboard, your situation will vary. But usually safe to at least have 2 of these, and then maybe use your monitor's headphone jack as another output, and your motherboard's headphone jack as another output. The thing that you need to remember is that your monitor, the audio drivers get updated with your graphics card updates. So if you update your graphics card, it could totally disconnect, and Windows will see it as a brand new audio device. And now you're going to have to go through and reset up, okay, this monitor is plugged in for this, and then I got to rename it and get all. You're going to have to redo the settings every graphics card update. That can be a pain. You can also have an issue where If you're using your motherboard and your motherboard audio drivers get updated, your Realtek Windows can update that, and then now that's reset. And these USB sound cards use the base USB audio driver, and since they use the base USB audio driver, the Windows updates are very rarely going to reset these USB devices. So if you're looking for the least amount of headache, each get a sound card, a USB sound card, and make sure you can plug them all into your computer like this. Otherwise, just use what you got. It's fine to plug in the audio from your monitor, and it's fine to plug in the audio from your motherboard. Even the front and the rear jack, if they can be separated as outputs, you can do that too. Just keep in mind that there's a little bit of software headache once in a while with Windows updates. It's less rare recently, thankfully, but knock on wood, we'll see. So go ahead, and your mileage may vary. Leave a comment if you guys have any questions about how to set any of this stuff up. The next video, I'm going to go over like literally plugging these in, and then what settings you want to set on Windows so that these devices all function for you properly, and maybe just kind of give you a visual overview of where everything it would be in your signal path, going from your computer, the HDMI matrix, the little mixer guy, everything that you might want to plug in to get audio on your soundboard, and then how to go in and set it up in Windows, and then finally what to set in OBS filter wise so this all works, because there are some things that you're going to want to adjust so that you can really get a clean signal with your soundboard into OBS. That's the video for today, and hope you guys are having a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.